Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make the trending crochet shrug, and I'm using the 6.0 hook just because I want my work to be a bit loose. So I start by making a slip knot just like that, and then I made 73 chains. So I took this measurement across my chest from shoulder to shoulder. So just take measurement across your chest and then make a number of chains that equals to the length of the measurement you took across your chest. So you want to make chains of a number that is a multiple of 4 and then add an extra one. So I did 72, which is a multiple of 4, and then I added one extra chain, and that's how I came about the 73 chains. So after making my chains, it measures about 19.5 inches, and then I'm going to make, after measuring that, I'm going to make extra 9 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then I'll count 9. I'm going to count 10 chains from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then I'm going to place my very first double crochet stitch in the 10th chain from the hook. So the double crochet stitch is what we're going to be using for this project. So I'll place my double crochet stitch in the 10th chain. Then I made 3 chains, and then from that stitch I counted 4 chains, 2, 3, 4, and in the 4th chain I placed my double crochet stitch. So this is basically what I'm going to be doing for this row. So after my double crochet stitch, I'm going to make 3 chains. I'm going to make 3 chains and then count 4 chains from the 2nd crochet stitch and place my next double crochet stitch in the 4th chain. So it's like 3 crochet stitch space. So at the end of my row I have 4 chains left. So I'm going to place my double crochet stitch in the 4th, in the last chain. So it doesn't matter how many chains you have left. If you have 3 or 5 chains, it doesn't really matter. Just go ahead to place your double crochet stitch in the last chain, as long as you have your right measurements from your chest to chest. That's what really matters. Just place your double crochet stitch in the last chain. Right, so for the next row, and this is what I have, this is what it's looking like. So for the next row I'm going to make 6 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'll turn my work and then place a double crochet stitch into the very first hole. So there, I'm going to place my double crochet stitch for the next row. Then I'll make 3 chains, 2, 3, and then I'll go ahead to place my next double crochet stitch into the next hole. Then I'll chain 3 again and place my next double crochet stitch into the next hole, and that's all we're going to be doing for this row. And then in the last row I'm just going to place my last double crochet stitch in the last hole, then make a chain of 6, turn my work and continue again. So make a double crochet stitch in the first hole, do 3 chains, do 3 chains, and then I'll continue that way for the rest of the rows. Alright, so this is what I have, and it measures about 6 inches. So this totally depends on the measure, on what you want, the size that you want. For the neck, count the total number of holes I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, which is perfect because my neck is going to take 9 holes. So I counted 5 holes from the end, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I placed my stitch marker, so I have 9 holes in the middle. So for the sleeve, I'm just going to start just the way I usually start my next rows, with 6 chains, then double crochet stitch into so chain 3, the next double crochet stitch, chain 3, and then the next double crochet stitch, chain 3, and then the next double crochet stitch, chain 3, and then the last double crochet stitch. So this is our 5th hole from the end from the edge. So we're not placing any double crochet stitch into that where we'll put our stitch markers. So all we're going to do is first make a chain of 3, which I made there, and then since we have 9 rows in the middle, we're going to multiply that 9 by 4, so we'll have 36, and then I'll make 36 chains after the 3 chains. So it doesn't matter how many holes you have. So if in case you have more than 9 holes in the middle, just multiply the 9 holes by 4, and that's going to give you the total number of chains that you're going to make in the middle. Now so I have my 36 chains now, and I'm just going to attach it with, so this, I'm going to attach my 36 chains to my work. Remember, we're not attaching to where we put the stitch markers. Don't mind my stitch marker. So we're not attaching it to that one, we're going to attach it to the 5th hole from the end, so not that one. So we're going to do a double crochet stitch there and make a chain of 3, then go on to do my double crochet stitch in the next hole, chain 3, do my double crochet stitch in the next hole, chain 3, and do my next double crochet stitch in the next hole, chain 3, and do my next double crochet stitch in the next hole. Then I'll continue just the way we've been doing every round. So the next row, 6 crochet stitch, 6 chains for the next rows, and then turn your work over and start with placing a double crochet stitch in the first hole, chain 3, next double crochet stitch, 1, 2, 3 chains, then your next double crochet stitch, and so for the hole before our 36 chains, we're just going to do our double crochet stitch into that hole. Alright, so just to show you again, I lose the work just to show you. So I'm going to do my last double crochet stitch into that hole. Then I'm going to make my chain 3, and then I'll insert my next double crochet stitch into the 4th chain from the last single crochet stitch. So I counted 4 chains, and I'll just place my double crochet stitch into the next chain, the next 4 chains. So after that, I'm going to do a chain 3, and then I count 4 chains again, 1 2 3 4, and I'll place my double crochet stitch into the 4th chain. So this is how we're going to do the neck part to continue the work. Chain 3, count 1 2 3, and then in the 4th place our double crochet stitch, then chain 3, then place the double crochet stitch in there, just like that. So when we get to the last, we're going to have 4 chains left. So we have 4 chains left, and after making our chain 3, we're just going to place our next double crochet stitch into the first hole after we made our 36 chains, and then into the next double crochet, and then the double crochet stitch into the next hole. Alright, so we're just going to continue that way to the end of the row. Alright, so this is what we have. So that's our little neck, and then you're just going to continue this way, just the way you did for the other part, by starting your row with 6 chains, doing your double crochet stitch in the first until you get to the end of the row, and you're going to continue for as many rows that equals to the number of the rows that you had for the first part, like for the other part of the project. So you're just going to keep doing your double crochet stitches until you have number of rows that equal to the first part. So this is what I have 6 inches on both sides, so this side measures 6 inches, just as much as the other side measures 6 inches. So for the sleeves, we're going to start by attaching. So after flipping my work over that way, both sides, I put the both sides together. Make sure you have equal sides before you start your sleeve. So I put the both sides together just like that, and then I will attach the armpit side. So that's my last chain, that's my last crochet stitch, and all I have to do is do a chain 1 and then insert or go into the very last hole in the other side, the other part of your work, and then so you go into the last stitch, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch to attach the both sides together, and I will continue this way by making slip stitches. So I'll attach them by making slip stitches together. So into the hole, to the same hole, I'm going to make another slip stitch. So just make sure it's equal. I'm going to make another slip stitch there, and then into the next hole I'll make another slip stitch. So you can just keep making these slip stitches until you get to the length that the size that you actually want your arm to be, the arm of your shrug. So I made all of these slip stitches until I got to the part where I thought the size was just fine for my arm to go into. So I'm not going to make slip stitches into the part where I want my arm to actually go into. Alright, so that's my last slip stitch. And my armhole measures about 5 inches. That's just perfect for my arm. Always make sure you measure. So this is where our sleeves will start from, and for the sleeve, at the end where we made our slip stitches, where we attached our work together, at that very end we're going to make 3 chains. 1, 2, and then the last one. So after our chain 3, we'll make our next double crochet stitch into the next hole. Double crochet stitch into the very first hole from the slip stitch, do a chain of 3, and then place our next double crochet stitch into the next hole, and then we'll do our chain 3. And this is just how we're going to continue for the sleeves. We're just going to work in rounds. We are not attaching, we're not doing any specific thing, anything serious. We're just going to work in rounds. We just keep adding our double crochet stitches in all of the holes in rounds until we get to the length that we want our sleeve to be. So just keep working in rounds, no attaching, just keep inserting your double crochet stitch in every hole until you get to the length that you want your sleeves to be. So if you want your sleeves to be a bit wide, like the flay kind of sleeve, all you have to do is place 2 double crochet stitches into any of the holes and continue that way. Alright, so at the end of the sleeve, all you have to attach, you're going to make 3 chains, chain 3, and 1, 2, 3 chains, and then you attach it to the top of the next single crochet stitch with a slip stitch, just like that. Then you cut your yarn and fasten it off like this. And that's how you make your sleeve. That's how you end your sleeve chains. And so to check the measurement, just go to where you started making your attachment, the row of the chain, and then measure So my sleeve measures about 20.5 inches. So for the next sleeve, just make a slip knot. So after making your slip knot, just go to the other parts where you want to attach your sleeve here. Make sure you're attaching it from the end, not where your neck is. So you're starting from the end, not where your neck is. This is your neck, so you're not starting from here. This is where you did your neck. You're going to start from where the end part of your work, and then go into the hole. Take out your slip knot, put it in, like attach it into the 2 holes, then make a slip stitch. And then you're just going to keep attaching it just the way you attached it in the first, when you did the first sleeves. So I'm going to keep attaching my both sides with a slip stitch. And make sure you make as many slip stitches as you did the first time, so your work will be equal. So more slip stitches for me. You can go with more or less depending on how big you want your armhole to be. So I did just as many slip stitches as I did on the other arm, so it will be equal. Always make sure to measure your work, guys. So remember, this part measured 5 inches, so the other part should also measure 5 inches. Okay, so when I got to the part where it was measuring 5 inches, I stopped making my slip knot, and then I'll just continue the way I did for the other arm. So I'm going to make chain of 3, then place my first double crochet stitch into the first hole from the slip stitch, do a chain of 3, then my next double crochet stitch, chain of 3, then my next double crochet stitch. Then I'll just continue that way until I get to the equal length of the first sleeve. So just keep working around, placing my double crochet stitches into the holes of the sleeve space that I made, then make 3 chains and then double crochet stitch into the next hole. 1 2 3, just like that. And then, so when I got to this part, just to show you again, I'm just going to make 3 chains and then place my next double crochet stitch into that first hole, and then make 3 chains again, then place my double crochet stitch into the next hole, so So this I'm going to continue for this sleeve until I get to my desired length, which is supposed to be equal to the length of the already made sleeve I have. Alright, so to end my row, my sleeve, I just made 3 chains and then I'll attach it to the next double crochet stitch with a slip stitch, just like that, and then I'll cut my yarn and measure just to be sure that it's the same length. Measure your work, guys. So it's measuring 20 inches, just the same length. Next, you weave in your ends, and I use a smaller crochet hook for this, so I'll just insert it into one of the size of stitches, and then I'll pull my chain out and drag out my leftover yarn. So this is basically how I weave in my ends, and that's it, guys. Just make sure to weave in your ends so your work would look, so your shrug is going to look really good and not rough. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to this channel, please. Bye, and I'll see you in my next video.